All right, everyone. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome. I know that there are some of you that are still going to be joining us slowly. I know for me, I just got the reminder about 15 minutes ago in my inbox. So if you're like me and you have to have that reminder, and then, you have to then get on your laptop and figure things out. So hopefully we'll have more people joining us, and we're all like, oh, sound isn't working for you? Is it working for everybody else? Yeah. Lauren, check your volume. I'm not sure what else to tell you on that for sound isn't working for you. Oh, it is now. Sweet. Okay, maybe you just had to get caught up. That's why we wait a few minutes for everyone to get on and get the thing caught up. So I'm so excited. So I have been with Students for Life since 2010. So this is the 8th conference that I have put together since I've been here. And every year I get so excited because we have some of the most amazing speakers and sponsors that come and join us. And so we get a lot of feedback. And I love feedback because it helps us make the conference better every year. And one of the feedbacks we got over the last 2 years, and we've heard you, is that you want more workshops, you want more opportunities to get up and move around, and just more different kinds of engaging activities and workshops. And so that is what we are doing on the East Coast. West Coast, it's a little different because our venue is a little bit more limited in what we can do. But East Coast, if you're coming out for the March for Life in Washington, D.C., and you're coming to the East Coast Students for Life American National Conference, you are going to be so excited this year because, I don't know, Audrey, I know like a lot of the our regional coordinators are talking to their groups about the 5 pillars, which is new this year. Are you excited about the 5 pillars?
I am super excited about the 5 pillars. Yes, I've been talking to a lot of my Michigan groups about it, and I'm sure a lot of the other regional coordinators are doing the same.
That's awesome. So our 5 pillars are basically the areas in which that you should engage as a pro-life movement on your campus in order to be the most effective, well-rounded group. And so that's going to be a big part of the tie-in for our national conference, which is these 5 pillars of engagement. And so it's effective education, industry impact, public policy, rapid response, and supportive services. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on what all those things mean, but just remember there are 5 pillars, and we are breaking up our workshops into 5 workshops. We are only going to have 1 general session in the morning, and then we're going to break up, and you'll have 5 opportunities to go to 5 different workshops throughout the day. So there's going to be a lot of getting up and moving around. And the goal is going to be for you guys to hit one of each of these pillars throughout the day, or to break up your group so that some group members go here and some group members go there, so you can get the most out of it possible. And so I'm really excited because I think this is going to be one of the biggest endeavors we've done at a national conference. And there's going to be a lot of movement. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of people who are wandering around the halls lost, who are like, where is the room? I don't know where it is. So we'll have lots of assistants to point you where you need to go. But I just want to just really touch briefly because I know I want to move on to Audrey and planning. But one other thing we've heard from you guys was the apologetics is great, but it's like the same thing every year. And some of you come back and it's your 2nd national conference, it's your 3rd national conference, and you're like, oh, I just want something different. And so this year for our apologetics session, we are really breaking it down so that it can serve you and where you're at. So we have Trent Horn from Catholic Answers, who's going to do just a general apologetics training for college students. And then we've got Jay Watts from Life Training Institute, who's going to do a general apologetics training more geared towards high school students. But then we've got Josh Braun from Equal Rights Institute, and his is Advanced Apologetics, Bodily Autonomy, and More, which I'm really excited about. It's going to give you guys the opportunity to kind of get more into the meat and ask the hard questions. Josh likes the hard questions. And I know you guys face a lot of just on our last ERI webcast, there was some really intelligent and difficult questions that were brought up that people were facing on campus. So I know you guys are facing some deep, big things and need that. But I also know some of your group members need the more general, I don't even know how to talk about being pro-life. And then the last one for apologetics is biblical pro-life reasoning. And I know we're a secular organization at Students for Life, but most of our group members have some sort of biblical Christian background and talk to people in Christian circles. And we've never before served you in this kind of way of bringing in, how do you tie in biblical faith with the pro-life message? And so I'm really excited. We're going to have Camille Pauly from Healing the Culture talking about that. Men and abortion. Oh my gosh. Audrey, are men allowed to talk about abortion?
Yes, men are allowed to take a stance against abortion.
Wait, I thought that they were only allowed to talk about abortion if they were for abortion.
Actually not the case.
So we're going to have Jason Jones come in, and he's going to do a session about men and abortion. He is a post-abortive man, but he is also a father and a pro-lifer and a huge advocate for life. And so he's going to present on where do men fit in the pro-life movement? And what do we do when some of the pro-choice women tell men that they're only allowed to have one opinion? And so that's going to be really fun. Jason, I don't know if you guys know Jason Jones from Movie to Movement, but he's a funny guy. So it's going to be fun and lots of energy. We're going to talk about feminism and abortion. I mean, like, it just gets better and better. I'm so excited because we have Sarah from the Susan B. Anthony Birthplace who's going to come and talk about, I mean, like, right, the foundations of feminism. They were pro-life, these Susan B. Anthony and a lot of the founding feminists. We're going to have Abby Johnson speaking about feminism and our own Kristen Hawkins. So I might have to moderate that panel is kind of what I'm thinking there. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we're going to talk about abortion in the Black community. I've invited Reverend Dean Nelson from Human Coalition, Christina Bennett, who spoke last year from the National Black Pro-Life Coalition. There's a group called Sisters for Life in Kentucky, and we're going to have them come out. They're a group of Black women who speak out about abortion in the Black community, especially how it affects Black women. So I'm really excited to have some of these voices joining us. David B. Wright is going to come, the former CEO of 40 Days for Life, to talk about, can we impact the abortion industry? Can we do anything about it? Yes, we can. So he's going to be there. Sue Thayer, she's a former Planned Parenthood director, is going to be there talking about how the abortion industry betrays women, what's really happening. And Dr. Marguerite Duane is also going to be there talking about just the contraception and abortion and just the medical side of how abortion betrays women and how the abortion industry betrays women. So it's going to be really fun. And we have Lila Rose coming. I'm really excited. So one of our pillars is called Rapid Response. And it's just about like being aware of what's going on campus and being ready to hit it when the iron's hot, right? Like if a topic is hitting on your campus, there's like maybe a really pro-choice speaker. Maybe Cecile Richards is coming to your campus. Like, what do you do? And so we're going to talk about rapid response. And she's going to be talking about beating the news cycle. That's something Live Action is really good at, is like seeing something going on, reporting on it, getting a video out, going undercover. So I'm really excited to have Lila. And then there's more, but some of my biggest heroes are the people who I serve with every day who are going to be speaking. We have a lot of our awesome regional coordinators who are going to be doing presentations as well during that time. So before I get too excited about the conference and take up all the time, I'm going to turn it over to Audrey. I don't know if everyone might not know Audrey. Audrey is our Michigan regional coordinator. Audrey's in like a unique situation because she's also a full-time student. And so she's a part-time regional coordinator. That's why we only gave her one state. Although we gave her the awesome state of Michigan, where we have how many groups?
I currently have 70 groups.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know like how you can know 70 people.
Oh, yeah, it's rough. But I love it.
It's awesome. So Audrey, part-time Michigan regional coordinator, full-time student at Central Michigan University. And you're studying sign language, right? Is that what you're doing?
Yep, my major is speech pathology and my minor is sign language. Yep.
That's so awesome. So one day you'll come back to our conference and be the interpreter to tell it. Like,
really? I would love that.
Fun. We don't get any hearing impaired people coming because we don't have an interpreter. So future Audrey, we're going to work that out. So,
Great.
Keep asking your questions. I see that there are some questions being asked, and we're going to answer all the questions at the very end. So I do want you, as you come up with a question, write it in the chat, and we're going to let Audrey present on how to organize a trip, how to save money. One of our core values at Students for Life is being gritty. And that just means like getting it done regardless of your financial resources, your human resources, whatever it is, getting through every obstacle. Sometimes it means driving far, or, sometimes people don't show up and you're the one that's sitting there making all the signs for the project the next day, whatever it is, we're gritty. And so I feel like Audrey, in her past planning for this trip out to the March for Life, has shown a lot of true grit. So Audrey, welcome. And then, and at the very, very end, I'm going to announce a special discount, and it is going to be 25% off your registration fees for your entire group. And this is probably the best discount code you are going to get before the conference. Like we do usually do Black Friday, and it's usually pretty good, but this is going to be better. So I will announce it at the end, and it will only work for 48 hours. So you guys got to get planning, get on there, register your groups. Anyway, Audrey.
Hi guys. So like Tina said, I'm the Michigan Regional Coordinator. I am also a full-time student. I'm also the president of the group at Central Michigan University. So fire up chips, as that's our motto. Last year I went with 14 other students. So my VP and I took 13 other students, so there were 15 of us, and we drove out to the March, did the national conference. And it can be really overwhelming to plan it all. So I'm going to teach you how I did it so you can take that knowledge and go forth into the world. So the main thing to keep in mind is the March for Life does not need to be a 5-star vacation. We don't need hotel rooms, fancy food, fancy clothes. This necklace, don't bring it. There's not a place for it. It's a chance to do a version of mission work and raise awareness about the preborn. It's okay to rough it a little bit. Okay, it's okay to rough it. You need to be able to fit into small vans or buses. I don't want to see people carrying 3 duffel bags into a small van, 1 bag per person. It's a 1 weekend. It's okay to sleep in sleeping bags on church floors or in Airbnbs or hostels. And it's okay to be a little sleep deprived or sore from marching. It's the human rights and justice of our time. And I think we often think about it as a way to get out of town for a weekend. I know as a student, I'm like, I am not doing homework at all during this weekend. It is my weekend out. I want to tour and see Abe Lincoln. I want to see all of these things, the Basilica, all of this stuff. But that's not why we're going to the March for Life. I want to get you guys excited for a weekend of serving and fighting against this injustice. So like I said before, planning it can be super overwhelming, but your regional coordinators are here to help you. If you go on the Students for Life staff page, you can find a link for all of the different staff members for each of your individual states. Heads up, I've got Michigan. So feel free to reach out to them. They're here at your disposal, ready for, they're waiting for your emails. They want to be able to assist you. Students for Life of America also has free planning guides on our website for this exact trip. It can help you cut cost, do cost estimates, and overall just have a great itinerary ready. I think the one thing about this trip that I cannot over enunciate is be responsible, be prepared. I would think I was planning last year when I took my student group, I was planning over the summer. And the trip wasn't until January, because you have to be really organized and detail oriented. I typed it up an itinerary and I said, at this time, we will be driving to this location. At this time, we will be in this parking lot. I even bought parking passes for the different parking lots weeks in advance. So I locked in the discounts and the tickets because parking does get hectic during the March for Life. And I had a guaranteed spot. So that is one little tip. Students should be able to do this trip in less than $130 a person. I did it with my group, and get this, under $60 a person. $60 each.
Did you guys,
a whole weekend.
Did you eat?
Yes, we did eat, and I will give you some tips for eating. And I'm gonna teach you how to do it. I'm not saying that you'll be able to do it in under 60. That inflation rate, a year difference, but you should be at least aiming for at least under 130, and that's including the conference cost. The first thing I'd like to touch on is discussing transportation. There are dozens of great transportation ideas that can help save on the costs. Minivans, 15-passenger vans, commuter vans, school buses. Charter buses should be your last resort. They are so expensive, they're overpriced. Last resort. You should be able to find other transportation. I would first look into your local car rental places before looking at the big companies like Enterprise or Coach Transportation. Local car rentals often have age requirements that are more achievable for a college group. So for example, the organization that I went through was called Redmonds in Saginaw, Michigan. That is like a local spot, so that's not in your states, but looking at those local spots they'll be able to work with you more. So they gave us a discount because we were students and we were going on a trip for school. Technically for school, because it's a student school group, it counts. Work to your advantage, you know. So the local van rental worked with us. They said that if you were 21, you could rent the van. And we had some seniors that were 21 that were able to rent the van for us, and they used their car insurance. Different companies like Enterprise and those big name companies want you to be 25 or older. And I'm sorry, but I don't know any 25-year-olds that go to my school. I'm sure they do exist, but they're not in my pro-life group. So how am I able to get a 25-year-old to rent a van and drive it for me if they're not in my group? So we had about 3 or 4 21-year-olds. So they rented the van for us. We all paid them back. And then they drove it down for us. And so the age restrictions are just one thing to keep in mind while you're planning this trip, because that is a detail that can really get sticky. Some of the other groups that I know have had adults come, like a parent of a group member. I'm sure a lot of parents of the students in your pro-life groups are really passionate about the pro-life movement as well, so they might be willing to help drive down if need be. And then also don't forget to factor in gas when estimating the cost for the transportation. I remember to include the gas, but like weeks before the trip. So I was like scrambling to see if everyone's cost would still match what we needed. And luckily it did, but can't forget gas. And how you can estimate that is basically there are websites that will do it for you for free. You basically type in I think Tina's going to get something up.
The planning guides are in here along the side, and they have the link to the place that will estimate your mileage and how much it'll cost.
Great. Yeah. You basically, you can go there and get a good estimate. And then I always like to overestimate on gas too, like add in an extra $50, $70, $100. You always want to be too cautious with how much money you have versus like, we'll see if we have enough. Because gas does change differing on the state and how expensive it is. It's not, it could be $2.30 here and $2.50 in Washington, D.C. It's just hard to know. So that is transportation. The second aspect of the trip is lodging. And there are some cheap ways to catch some sleep during the trip. To give you a little idea of my itinerary during my trip last year, we left on Thursday afternoon. We drove through the night. We slept in the van while people took turns driving. Friday morning, we marched all day, and then we went to an Airbnb and spent the night in sleeping bags on the floor. And then Saturday morning, got up, went to the conference all day, and then Saturday night, went out and toured Washington, D.C., and then left Saturday night, drove through the night. Everyone took turns sleeping, and then Saturday morning, we arrived back at CMU and slept hardcore in our beds. I think I slept for 12 hours straight, really. I really did.
That was very gritty.
Trip. What?
I said that was very gritty.
Yes. Yeah. You got to be gritty in this. Yeah. So to get like that itinerary, that might be a little hardcore. It's not for everyone, but it did save us a heck ton on lodging because we slept in the vans while people took turns driving. Tip about that, your passenger should always be awake with the driver to keep the driver alert. They can be having conversations. We each took shifts. So we had our 4 drivers rotate every 2 hours, every 3, I think, during the day, but at the nighttime, every 2 hours. And then the passenger stayed alert and kept them in conversation while everyone else in the back snoozed away. But hotels, should be your last resort. You can look at Airbnbs, hostels, churches, family member of someone in your group. You should check with all of the students in your group to see if anyone knows a distant relative or friend who could host your group for free. I feel like it's really common for someone's aunt's cousin to live in DC and have a free basement where you can crash for the night. But you can also stay for free on a church floor in a sleeping bag. I called 75 churches last year, so I can definitely give you tips for some churches. Washington, D.C. actually doesn't have a lot of churches that will host you. One of them told me there was a law about that, but I'm not really sure.
It's interesting in DC because a lot of the churches have these like well-established relationships with almost like sister churches that they let come sleep on their floors every year. And so sometimes it's hard to break into the churches. Sometimes the Catholic or Christian high schools will let you lodge there, but you've got to get like event insurance. So that would only work if you had like a really big group and you could offset that cost with like 50 other people. So Airbnb and hostels are probably
churches even outside of Washington, D.C. too. I looked at some churches in Maryland and Virginia. I mean, all of those little states are so close together. Driving from Maryland to the march or from Virginia to the conference, it's not that far of a distance, but they are far and few between. So definitely start calling those churches early. Look into the high schools if you have a giant group. But I would really suggest Airbnbs. That's what I did with my group. We paid, they do charge you extra for how many people you have. So we paid $200 for 15 people, but it was a lot cheaper than renting out hotels for each individual person. And we had 2 floors and the house was completely to ourselves. It was really nice. But there are Airbnbs that you can do that will, you could do multiple Airbnbs and do pickups. So we looked into that for my group. We didn't end up doing it because the group kind of all wanted to be together, but that could be another way to save money. If you're willing to split up, 3 people from your group could go to this Airbnb and 3 people could go to this one, and you drop them off and it'd be maybe $10 a person. It's not expensive at all. Another one you can do is hostels. They usually have a cap on how many people you can have. My group was too big, so we weren't able to do a hostel. Also, hostels have gender rules, so it's either a women specific, men specific, or mixed. And they're kind of like bunk beds, but those are really nice. Those are really cheap as well. But I mean, you can stay for cheap. Like, don't think about doing a hotel with a big fluffy bed and a fluffy pillow for each person. You don't need that. You can sleep on the floor. You guys are all young students. I'm only 20. There is no excuse for us not to sleep on the floor in a sleepy bag. Okay, I had hip surgery, okay? And I can still sleep on the floor. So if I can do it, you can do it. Yes. And if you get a hotel or a motel, sneaky tip, you can have 4 people enter the hotel and get 4 rooms. And if it's a motel, then you can open your door and look, 10 people from the car just ran in and slept on the floor in a sleeping bag and no one's the wiser. So that's another tip that you could totally do. Just play it on the DL. Yeah, so that's lodging. And then the last tip that I have for you guys, so those made transportation and housing easier and cheaper, but food during the trip can get super duper pricey. So what my group did is on our way down to the March for Life, we stopped at Walmart and grabbed tons of snacks like bread, peanut butter. I think someone in our group grabbed like saltine crackers, something like that, that just gives you food. And you can, while you're driving, you don't even have to stop. Then you're only stopping for bathroom breaks and gas. And then you're eating that. My group also stopped for fast food a couple times. It just depends on what your group is willing to spend. And I would have food be on each individual person. So we had some members in our group who weren't interested in paying the extra money for fast food. They wanted to buy prepackaged meals at Walmart and then bring them. And it's up to them. It's their prerogative. And then that way you're not adding extra cost to everyone's trip just to be able to pay for all their food. So yeah, and fast foods rather than sit down restaurants. We don't need to worry about our diet on this trip, guys. Okay, we don't need to be eating vegan at sit down restaurants. Okay, we can eat fast food, greasy stuff. It's your weekend to throw away that diet and go hard on some McDonald's. Whatever's the cheapest is what I would go with, is what I would say. So basically, the overarching theme that we've discussed is that this trip is not a fancy weekend getaway. We are doing activism work and acting as a voice for the voiceless. We don't need fancy hotels and chauffeurs and charter buses with Wi-Fi. We need the bare minimum, the most cost-effective way to defend the defenseless. It's a team bonding activity with your teammates. I mean, my trip, a lot of us weren't even on our phones at all because we were just playing card games and interacting with each other. And that's the beauty of it. We don't need to kind of be all cooped up in our own hotel rooms. We can all be together on the floor in sleeping bags, and that's what makes it fun. And that is all I have for you guys. So put your Q&As if you have any questions about tips for the trip down below. Thanks for listening so well. That's all I have.
So a couple things I just want to hit on because we didn't talk about dates in the beginning, and I saw that as a question. So the March for Life is on Friday, January 19th. Wait. Yeah, is that right, January? I'm like, oh no, now I'm gonna get it wrong because I was thinking about it so hard. Yes, Saturday, January 19th, or Friday, January 19th, and our conference is Saturday, January 20th. And then for West Coast Walk for Life, it's Saturday, January 27th, and then our conference is Sunday, January 28th. So it's 2 different weekends. East Coast is on a Saturday, West Coast is on a Sunday. So hopefully that's like helpful for dates. So I'm going to scroll through the questions and I'll just go through them and we'll answer them. Audrey, are you good with that? We can tag team. All right. So let's see. First question. Oh my gosh, hurry, Tina, fast. Do we have to pick one apologetic session or is it possible to attend multiple? That's a great question. So at the conference, there's going to be 2 sessions with apologetics. So you will be able to go like listen to Trent Horn, do a basic apologetics, and then in session 2, go hear Josh Brom do an advanced. Josh is going to do his twice. And the biblical one is going to be twice as well. But the college general and high school general will only happen once. So you have to pick at the first session, but you can go to another one after. So there will be multiple opportunities. So that is exciting. Emily wants you to catch her up after the call. Okay, Audrey. All right. Is that just for the national conference? I'm not sure what the question was in reference to from Nicole. Maybe ask it again and I'll hit it again. Where can I apply to work as a pro-life counselor? Well, so that's Cynthia from California. She's a family and youth counselor. That might be something, email me later and we can talk about that. Let's see. I put the March for Life planning guide and the Walk for Life one up in the comments. You can look at that. When is this? I think I answered that question. Are there scholarships or financial aid we can apply for? So we don't have financial aid or scholarships at Students for Life. We work really hard to keep our conference fees down. It's only $45 for the East Coast and $40 for the West Coast. And then for your conference registration fee, this is what's so good about the food is that on the East Coast, you'll be eating good because you're going to get a Chick-fil-A meal and a Panera meal. And then because we do lunch and dinner for East Coast. For West Coast, we only do lunch and it's Panera. So you will, and we do breakfast because we start earlier. So it's a little, you get 2 meals. Either one, you get 2 meals. But East Coast, it's lunch and dinner, and West Coast, it's breakfast and lunch. But as far as financially goes, there's some ideas in the planning guide for fundraising. I would suggest to you go to your Knights of Columbus with a proposal saying, here's how many group members I'm taking, here's what I'm doing, here's how much it's going to cost us. I've had a lot of groups tell me that their local Knights of Columbus have given to their student group to do this March for Life pilgrimage. And then another one is I've heard some of the state right to lives. If you do the same thing, put together a proposal, and the planning guide will help you like put together what your proposal is, and then presenting that to them. I've heard of some of the right to lives also. contributing to that. Coupon queen. Carson thinks you're a coupon queen. Oh, as two high schoolers, what would be our best transportation options? That's Mark. I'm not sure where you're from, Mark, but I would suggest Bolt Bus, Megabus. There's some really, really inexpensive bus options since you can't drive. I don't know if Audrey, if you have another suggestion. Oh, I can't hear you. Is your mic on?
Oh, yeah, it's on. Sorry. Yeah, Mark, maybe message how old you are. Are you 16 and up? Can you drive? If not, I would recommend maybe if you are religious in any way, sometimes the youth pastors would be willing to take a couple people, depending on how far away you are. But yeah, I would recommend, mega buses are really nice. Depending on where you're at, if there's a train that goes that way, that you can hop on.
Typically, go ahead. Sorry.
Or I would look at if you're close to a college, I would maybe look at the pro-life group. You can easily go onto the like student organization page. You can Google it and look for their pro-life group and get in contact with their president, because usually pro-life groups want to have as many people come as they can, and it helps them cut down their costs too. So you two high schoolers could go with a college group.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fun.
And email your regional coordinator, because
they also in Michigan,
oftentimes they know of groups that are already organizing that you could like piggyback on their trip. Some of the diocesan groups do bus trips, but a lot of those don't stay the extra day for the national conference. They usually come in and leave almost right after. Some leave like right after the March for Life. I see the buses coming through the roundabout at Union Station picking people up, which is crazy because I don't know why they do that. It's like creates huge traffic. Will this be available for viewing after the event? Yes, it will be.
Nicole asked, does your 130 estimate include plane tickets? Nicole, no, sorry. Flying by plane is going to be a lot more expensive, depending on where you're coming from. But I'd recommend driving. It's cheaper.
And I know, like for our groups in Colorado and New Mexico, even if they're going to the West Coast, a lot of times they have to fly. So there are some really airlines that are less expensive, like Frontier, Spirit. You just have to be careful because you like can't have any bags unless you pay for them. But usually the flights are pretty cheap.
Bags anyway, because it's an activism event.
Yeah.
And you could carry a knapsack on your back.
And if you're going to the Walk for Life, like it should be warm. You don't need it's not like the East Coast where it might be a blizzard and snowing. True. And that's something to think about too, is what do you wear? I've had groups that came like from California. They flew out to DC for the March for Life, and they had these little like ski jackety things, and it was really cold that year, and they did not know that it was going to get that cold. It's like, yeah. So we usually bring like little foot warmers and hand warmers. And so find us at the March for Life if you didn't dress appropriately, and we will give you some warmers. Any recommendations for collaborating with Newman Center? That's from Ricky. Do you have a good answer on that one, Audrey? How to collaborate with the Newman Center?
No, I don't have any recommendations for that.
Yeah, I mean, like you could try to recruit them to join you, because I would think even if they're not part of the pro-life group, they're pro-life. And a lot of them maybe haven't gone to the March for Life or the Walk for Life before. Ricky, you're out in California. I would just like tell them like, this is an amazing thing. Come with us. If we get enough people, it'll cut the cost for everyone. That's kind of my recommendation. Most Newman centers are pretty friendly to the pro-life groups, so it shouldn't be hard. Ask them if you can like have some of their meeting time to present and recruit. They should let you, like at one of their Bible studies or meetings, like introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm organizing this trip. Can you join us? And Elizabeth said, Elizabeth Rahal, Beth. High schoolers also check if the Catholic Diocese is sending a group. if your high school doesn't have a trip. Yeah. So the diocesan groups, the only thing with the diocesan groups is that a lot of them don't stay the extra day because of the cost of the buses. So the buses are really expensive. And if you have to stay for the conference, you have to pay for another night in a hotel for the driver. And it just adds all this cost in. So some of them don't do it. But they would do it if you recruited enough high school students who wanted to go. Maybe some of the dioceses would like leave one bus behind because some of them bring multiple buses. I know Louisiana comes up with several buses because they have their Go Forth event. And so, you know, if they had to go back, but they could leave a bus behind and you could convince them, that would be a good plan. All right. Any other questions?
Carson posted, oh wait, Mark did, if you were in the middle of two conferences, which one would you recommend? East Coast, because that's where I'll be.
I would suggest whichever one's cheaper to go to if money is the issue. Definitely, this is really sad because I love both conferences, but the East Coast conference is just because of the nature of the building we're in, it's gonna have more workshops and opportunities to learn stuff. West Coast is just a smaller facility and we have less breakout rooms. So that'd be the best one, sticky there. Best thing you do. So this is Carson recommended making signs or bringing info cards to the march, wear t-shirts, etc. Yes, I've seen so many groups that like do like matching things, like matching hats or scarves or shirts, so that their group really is like stands out as a group, especially if it's a bigger group. It looks amazing when like everyone's wearing the same shirt.
My group designed sweatshirts that had like the heartbeat on them, and they said "Respect life, womb to the tomb." And they were sweatshirts, so we like wore those as our top layer, so we all matched. And then we actually, instead of having like a meeting that week before the march, we just got together and had a big social and made signs. It was really fun. You can look up sign ideas like by Googling March for Life signs images, and you can steal ideas. There's some great ones out there.
And if you've signed our licensing agreement, you get a banner. And so talk to your regional coordinator about that, because I love it when the groups like have their banner for their group, like Harvard Respect Life and things like that, and they're marching behind their banners. It just shows like how many student groups there are. And then of course we're going to be passing out our Pro Life Gen signs, so you can find us and we'll give you signs to hold too. Best thing you packed? The warmer, the feet warmers. It's because I get cold.
I packed a lot of hand warmers. Yeah. I also packed a water bottle. That is a huge necessity when you're marching all day. Another thing, you can get Students for Life of America drawstring bags from your regional coordinators for free. And those are really nice. They fit a ton of stuff. I carried a purse. Horrible idea. Drawstring bag. I mean, I had like a drawstring purse, but still, bad idea. Drawstring bag is just easier. You want to be hands-free, and having a water bottle, like a light one, is nice. But I'd probably say that's so hard. I packed so many great things. I actually packed like a tiny blanket, and like that made the car ride so much more comfortable for me. Like I was able to sleep. That might be my favorite. I have a really difficult time sleeping in cars. So the fact that we drove all through the night, like 2 out of the 3 days, that was really hard. I was really stressing out about that before we left. But I packed like a little blanket, like a really thin one that I could roll up into my duffel bag. And it's really nice to whip that out. And because a lot of people like AC in the cars. And I'm like, cut it out with that AC, man. Like, it's freezing. I'd recommend a blanket. Long story short, blanket is the best thing I packed.
All right, last one was from Isabel. How do I get a drawstring bag? I'm from Michigan.
So. You're from the U of M group, I think. Right? I think so. You can email me. I'll put my email in here. And yeah, email me and I'll hook you up with some swag. I think Ricky also had another one too.
Did he? Coordinator for Dallas, Texas. Dallas email. Gosh, what's Sarah's last name? Sarah's last name? You can email info. If at first you can't succeed at finding out who your regional coordinator is, email info@studentsforlife.org and you will find your regional coordinator. And then I am posting.
Put that in there for you.
And then I'm posting the discount code. It's web SFLA for the 25% discount. So just go to SFLA Live, live.org to register. You've got, there we go. Thank you, Carson. Sarah Czar is for Texas, and her email is just szarr, Z-A-R-R, @studentsforlife.org. Thank you, Carson, for knowing more about my team members than I do. She just started, though, so a little bit of grace. There you go. Thank
Julia
you,
and Ricky, you both commented when would be a good deadline to have a head count. For my student group, I had a head count by the end of October for last year. I would really recommend probably getting a good estimate and going ahead and purchasing tickets within the next 48 hours to get this deal. And then really nail it down. You want to have like the trip almost a final itinerary before Thanksgiving break for your group as well.
I don't mind. Yeah, I would say a lot of groups register a Thanksgiving weekend. And so I don't know if that's like normal or good, but a lot of groups by that time have their full group done and ready to go and registered. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it. Go register. You've got 48 hours for the 25% discount. Web SFLA. Who's whoever we got that. All right. Awesome, guys. So Houston, Texas, it's szarr @studentsforlife.org. That's Sarah Czar is your regional coordinator for Texas. Yay. All right, guys. Thank you. And this will be replayed. There'll be a replay link that will be emailed to you after this is over. Thank you.
Guys.